The following is intended for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Welcome, Deadites, to part 4 of What If Deku was the Punisher. In the last episode, Deku and Enji saved Antoinette Stark and Richard Rhodes. Tony and Deku would talk quite often after that, and they've become quite close. Intimately so, actually. Now, in that amount of time, the three of them would have since dealt with Obadiah Stane, and true to the events of the first Iron Man to a point, he is so dead. Tony was currently working on Mark V, and Deku was working on ways to utilize the arc reactor into his tech. When it was done, it would be quite amazing. Of course, he didn't tell Tony, since she might take over the entire project and essentially ruin the fun for him, or stop him entirely. He knows his girlfriend pretty well by now. Deku was spending a few days a week at Tony's home in the city. While he would have just flown to New York, she wanted to pry her hand at UA, and so did Rhodey, so they're in Japan. Remember, Starch Industries is an international company. That can be done. Their armors were cleared for usage, since in Rhodey's case it was needed for his quirk, and in Tony's case it fed off her quirk. However, lethal force was obviously not permitted, like with Deku. They were limited to what kind of blast they could do, and Deku would have to hook Rhodey up with special bullets. Within not even a year, Tony has taken the final slot. And by that I mean of their meeting. Momo and Fuyumi were oddly okay with it. So the sad part, or the funny part, I guess, was how he proposed to Tony. I'll take you there right now. Deku had this romantic dinner planned for the two of them. Candles, picnic baskets, grape juice under a sakura tree. Yeah, this was definitely grape juice. Yes, grape juice, of course. Things were going great, and the two of them were practically feeding each other. But then Tony got a burst of inspiration, and it had gone off into her mind. However, the timesheet picked to do that was when Deku was on his knees with the ring out. Babe? Tony? Antoinette? It was clear to Deku that she was beyond gone in her brainstorming. Deku was getting quite annoyed that his efforts to propose were being drowned out by whatever the hell she was inventing, and he just snapped. Damn it, woman, I'm trying to propose here! Yes. Deku was astonished. Can I get a do-over? Tony smiled sweetly at Deku. No. Give me my ring. He puts the ring on her finger and explains that it's a copy of his mother's ring, Inko's ring, made to fit her. So let me guess. The other two think one of them has the real ring, but in reality, you have it in the vault somewhere. This woman just continues to astonish Deku. The look on his face was all she needed as for an answer. Tony knew that unless Fuyumi and Momo had agreed to her joining them, he wouldn't have popped this question. Tony was so happy that she was crying a bit and didn't even notice it until Deku wiped the tears away and kissed her. Clothes hit the floor and things get a little intimate. But back to the present. Deku was just leaving the room he shared with the girls. Let's just say that Fuyumi and Tony were very pleased. When they left the room, they had goofy grins on their faces and they were extremely disheveled. What was done was obvious to everyone that bothered to look at the two. Damn, son. Don't go making me into a grandma too soon now. Deku scoffed at that comment. So says the reason I have to fabricate all my condoms. Deku did his best not to roll his eyes at her. Momo immediately took her place at his side, and the other girls just sat accordingly. Deku was told he was in. As far as UA goes, no questions asked. He was the freaking Punisher. Fuyumi would go to regular school and keep her canon occupation of teacher. She would, of course, be teaching in UA as a normal teacher, but it is still a school after all. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Momo would be in a whole lot more assertive in getting Deku's attention, since she knows full well she's far too young for the kind of attention Tony and Fuyumi were getting. She would think back to Rei's words. Don't be in such a rush to grow up, dear. In Izuku's case, he didn't have much of a choice but to grow up fast. Even now, a part of me is saddened at what he's become and misses his old cheerier self. However, it's not really fair to compare you to Izuku. He was groomed for the life he's living since he was younger than you. And all the horrible things that have happened to him. It's just not right to compare you. Sure, be his sexy little loli. Yes, I've heard them call you that. But just enjoy your time with them. You love all three of them, don't you? Momo nods her head vigorously. And she gets the point. She'll also have a talk with her fellow wives about curbing their enthusiasm while she's around. Just because she knows she's too young doesn't mean she wants to have to hear it or know what's going on. Deku can be seen at the Triskelion talking to his S.H.I.E.L.D. handler, Agent Frank Castle. Frank and Deku seem to have good enough chemistry going, and they build on that. To all Punisher fans, relax. Frank isn't a desk jockey. However, his days of field work are done unless situations truly call for it. Ever watch Wanted, the movie with the assassins that can curve bullets? Well, that's what Frank can do with his quirk. Sure shot. He can guide projectiles and stay aimed true to his intended target, more often than not. Yeah, I know that's almost exactly like her homing, but there are similar quirks in the world, so why not? Now, for that exact reason, Fury cannot stand playing any sport with Frank. He'd swing 18, he'd hit 18, get many perfect games in bowling as well. Frank was really not allowed in any of the S.H.I.E.L.D. sporting events. That period. So I've been avoiding this, but it's time. Frank gets a beat on All for One and gives Deku a call. Hey kid, I think we got him. He's in the Saitama area, amassing a small army. Drop that asshole. Deku suited up and rode into battle with Endeavor, All Might, Snipe, Wolverine, Colossus, and the damn Juggernaut. This was a literal meeting of titans. They managed to catch All for One unawares, and the fact that All Might has since transferred One for All and received the Super Soldier Serum is a great boon as well. All for One tries to dip, but before he can, Punisher fires a propelled pod into the air, and a mist is sprayed about the atmosphere. Said mist is preventing teleportation of any kind. Fury would later ask him to line a prison and the Tri-Carrier with such a thing, but that is a tale for later. since the Tricarrier doesn't even exist yet. All for One's minions make the charge to protect their boss, and this is where you get that epic movie-style charge into battle. Juggernaut, do it. Juggernaut powered through the peons while Snipe and Punisher were shooting at every fool that came their way. A jet of fire makes way for Punisher and Endeavor counters with his own flame. You did not just try to burn my son. He was pissed. Endeavor would be locked in pyrokinetic combat with none other than, well, Pyro, to which he won. All for One was in a heated battle with All Might. I see you no longer possess One for All. How is it that you possess such strength? All Might grunts, as if I'd tell you. Wolverine sneaks behind All for One and gets a good hit on him. However, he gets tossed into the lake. He used a quirk similar to Magneto's, but not quite his. He hasn't met Magneto, thank God. Good thing he can hold his breath for a while. All Might breaks off from All for One, and Endeavor brings in the heat. However, he's regenerating rather quickly. The reason for that would be, well, the dead Sabretooth not that far behind him. Disengage, Dad. I'm doing the thing. Endeavor listens to his son and gets All Might clear. Cronies think they've won when they see the heroes retreat, as All for One walks towards his enemy slowly and cockily. However, All for One isn't ready for a strike from the Hammer of Dawn. Yes, Deku made one just in case. Come on, guys. You know how overpowered Fabricator is at this point. Now, instead of emulsion, remember me saying earlier that Deku is working with Arc Reactor in his tech? That's powering the hammer in this instance. Needless to say, it destroyed All for One faster than he could regenerate. With this, the forces of evil have received a heavy blow. However, a shadowy specter can be seen next to a young man not that much older than Deku. He would go on to swear to make the heroes pay. Now, Fury would shoot Deku the hell out, and I'm gonna let you guys hear this. Of all the things to do, you make a weapon and put it in damn orbit, and then you hand me the keys to it. Nick couldn't even be mad at that. The facility known as the Peak would be built over it to mask it from the general public. While Deku could have just recalled it, the hammer into the vault, it seemed right to give it to Nick. All Might was a little mad that Deku had chosen to execute All for One, but not that mad. He's glad he's gone. The threat needed to be dealt with. Now that he was, the world was a much safer place. Some of you may not like me killing All for One, but remember, this is a Marvel piece, and they have no shortage of big bad evil guys. Deku would go on to enjoy his school life, and so would All Might. Technically, he's still teaching in UA, but here's the fun part. Deku's Class 1A, or at the very least, the top 10 in his set class. Now to be clear, for this to work, UA is an international school. Deku himself, Tony Stark, Richard Rhodes, Pietro Maximoff, Wanda Maximoff, Kenichiro Harada, the Silver Samurai, Scott Summers, Bobby Drake, Johnny Storm, Luke Cage. While I could make a full roster of 20, we're not going to be spending that long in this time period, so I'm not going to bother with that. Deku clearly got along well with Tony and Rhodey. Luke was a cool guy, but Bobby and Johnny's attitudes really set him off. The Maximoff twins kept themselves for a while, but Deku managed to befriend them well enough. They were trying to live part of their father's legacy down. For those who don't know, the Maximoff twins are Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, and their father is none other than Magneto. In this case, a former villain turned hero. He had committed many horrible crimes, but he did his time, and even pitched in to stop several villain attacks, which would get his foot in the door of hero work. However, being the child of a former villain can get you picked on. In this case, for Wanda, she has her MCU powers, since her comic powers would be overkill in this and would be way more broken than, well, Fabricator. Let's not deal with a reality witch, okay? Now, Kenichiro is giving off massive try-hard vibes. He's trying to get past his familial Yakuza roots, and would be the second most attentive person in the room when the teachers speak. The first clearly being Deku. While he doesn't need all of this per se, he's trying to step his game up, and he's always been attentive. When a teacher speaks, he'll listen. Period. Kenichiro would resent Deku for even being here if he didn't know full damn well he earned everything he has. I mean, come on. His origin story is public knowledge, and no one in this class is stupid enough to go poking that bear. All Might walks in and gives them all a similar exam to what he gives 1A. We know and love. Now, for Deku's matchup. He's the hero, and he's paired with Rhodey. They picked blocks, however, I did not. They would be facing Luke Cage and Bobby Drake. Needless to say, the moment Deku realized he had to face Power Man, he hit the drawing board hard. What he came up with was an enhanced vibranium bullet. It's a good thing that he has regular conversations with Shuri. When he explained who he had to fight, her eyes went wide, and they'd work on how to design the bullet. Now let's be clear, no matter what he does, a vibranium bullet has got nothing on Luke Cage's skin, but two people are going to be firing at him with the force of railguns of automatic and semi-automatic variety. The concussive force at minimum is going to heavily jar him, enough that they can have a chance to take the W. But of course, Deku tricked Rhodey out with a means of dealing with Bobby's ice as well. Both of their suits had flamethrowers or swords embedded into them that could spew Endeavor level flame. The look on Bobby's face when he was sealed in a ring of fire that hot was priceless. Albeit Deku and Rhodey could have just gone stealth mode and won that way, but it would have felt hollow. Luke was not happy. Did you have to shoot me with those bullets so much? Hey, I was gonna make adamantium bullets, but then I realized that those could really hurt you a lot. Power Man shrugs and says his things, and they go on to watch the other battles. Bobby wouldn't speak to them for a few weeks. Several years go by to see both Tony and Fuyumi have Deku's kids, and also Deku becoming a teacher at UA. He would teach combat and extraction scenarios. For the most part, he's like the military advisor of the school. Rei was happy to have her some grandbabies, so she would help raise them. Of course, Mama Momo did her part as well, but oh boy, her school life with her husband is gonna be interesting. Rest easy, Deadites, and remember, the night is ours.